Their personal desires and preferences must be subjected to this book, because this book will determine their decisions. Now, they understand that sometimes they are going to be booed, because one of the teams will not like the decision, and if it's against the hometown team, the home crowd won't like the decision. So they understand that there will be times they will not be popular. But they also understand there will be times in which they will be popular, because the home team will like the call and the home crowd will like the call. But whether they are booed or cheered, they understand is irrelevant, because they're not there for a popularity contest. They're there to rule on the field from the book that's been handed from the kingdom in New York, for them to fulfill their managerial responsibilities in the middle of a conflict. These 7 officials are clearly identifiable. They wear black and white jerseys. You never confuse them with either team, because they don't belong to either team. They are neutral in the middle of the mess, because their obligation is not to this team or to that team, but to that kingdom in New York that has placed them in the midst of a conflict. The tragedy today is that we have a generation of men who no longer are committed to the kingdom up there, but have joined the teams on the field, who have traded jerseys and no longer can be distinguished as representatives of heaven because they joined chaos in history, who no longer have taken the mantle from the kingdom above to execute it here below. My great challenge, as you see on the shirt and on the book that I wrote, Kingdom Man, is calling a generation of men who have been tricked into joining the chaos of the conflict on the field, to be uniquely present for the reason that you have been created and redeemed, to be men of the kingdom and not men of the chaos. In Genesis chapter 18, verse 19, there is a verse. And I will read it to you, one verse. It says, "For I have chosen him, so that he may command his children and his household after him, to keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice, so that the Lord may bring upon Abraham what he has spoken about him." The context of this verse is Sodom and Gomorrah. The context of this verse is a culture about to be destroyed. The context of this verse is where homosexuality was ruling. The context of this verse is where oppression and injustice was controlling the environment of the day. That is the context of this verse. God is about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. But prior to its destruction, God says to a man, "I have chosen him, that he may raise his household after him, that I might bring upon him that which I have spoken to him." Today we have the problem of men missing in action. You and I today are living and raising children in a culture prepared for judgment. Everything that qualified Sodom and Gomorrah for destruction has qualified America for destruction.
Amen.
Everything that's qualified these two cities to be rained on stone has qualified this culture for its rebellion against the true and living God. And at the heart of the tragedy in Sodom and Gomorrah were a generation of men who had failed. A generation of men who are not living up to their divinely created call. All through the Bible, God is looking for a man. In Ezekiel 22 verse 30, God says, I looked for a man so that I would not have to curse the land, but I could find none. Now there were plenty of males. So evidently you can be a male and not yet be a man. Because he said, I looked for a man, but I could find none, so I had to judge the land. In Isaiah chapter 3 verse 12, he says, because the men had failed, he says, your women are in charge and your children are in rebellion. Wow. When Adam ate of the fruit, God didn't come asking Adam and Eve, where are y'all? He said, Adam, where are you? Because I'm holding you responsible. The reason God created Adam before he created Eve was because he was going to hold the man responsible before he ever gave him a woman. I'm holding you responsible for how this family works out and how this culture survives. The family is not the foundation of society. The man is the foundation of society. Because the man is the foundation of the family, which is the foundation of society.
Amen. Amen.
If you have a messed up man and he has a family, then you're going to contribute to a messed up family. If you have a messed up man contributing to a messed up family and that family goes to church, then that messed up family is going to make its contribution to a messed up church. If you have a messed up man contributing to a messed up family that contributes to a messed up church, and that church is supposed to be the light to the neighborhood, well, that messed up church is going to make its contribution to a messed up community. If you have a messed up man contributing to a messed up family, resulting in a messed up church, leading to a messed up community, and that community is in a city, well, now that messed up community is going to make its contribution to a messed up city.
Amen.
If you have a messed up man contributing to a messed up family, resulting in a messed up church, causing a messed up community, that results in a messed up city, and that city is part of the state, well, then that messed up city is going to make its contribution to a messed up state. If you have a messed up man contributing to a messed up family, resulting in a messed up church, causing a messed up neighborhood, that resides in a messed up city, that's part of a messed up state, and that state's in the country, well, then that messed up state is going to make its contribution to a messed up nation. If you have a messed up man contributing to a messed up family, resulting in a messed up church, causing a messed up neighborhood, that resides in a messed up city, is part of a messed up county, participating in a messed up state, and that state's part of a messed up country, and that country's part of the world.
That's right.
Well, that messed up country is going to make its contribution to a messed up world. So if you want a better world composed of better countries inhabited by better states, inhabited by better counties, composed of better cities, inhabited by better neighborhoods, that have been illuminated by better churches because they're made up of better families, we better get a generation of better men.
Amen.
But instead we have a generation of domesticated men. Generation of men who have been neutered. And who are no longer taking their biblical position in creation. He says three things in this verse about me and you and us as men. The first thing he says is, I have chosen him. To put it in football language, you have been drafted. You have been drafted. God Almighty, in making you a man, has drafted you for a divinely ordained purpose. That's what a draft is. You draft a player to play a position. You have been drafted. I have chosen him because I have a position for him to play on the field of my creation. You drafted. According to Exodus 34, verses 23 and 24, God called a meeting 3 times a year for all the males in Israel. The women had to stay home. He says, I want all the males 3 times a year to come and meet with the Lord your God. 3 times a year, every male. That meant agriculture shut down. That meant the military shut down. That meant banking shut down. Everything shut down. And God said, I want you to come and I want all the males to meet with me. Leave the women at home. All the males are to meet with me 3 times a year. In those 2 verses, there are 3 Hebrew words for God. There is Elohim, Yahweh, and Adonai. Elohim, in the beginning, God, Elohim, created the heavens and earth. That means the strong one. When God created Adam, he added another name. You'll see, beginning in Genesis 2, verse 4, the Lord God, the Lord God, the Lord God. That's Yahweh or Jehovah. That is the relational name for God. But in those verses, there's a 3rd name for God, Adonai. Adonai means I'm your boss, your supervisor. I'm your manager. So he called all the men to meet with him 3 times a year. And he says, I want you to meet with me because I'm your power. I want you to meet with me because I want you to pursue this relationship. And I want you to meet with me because I'm your boss. And if all the males will come and meet with the Lord your God 3 times a year, he says, nobody will covet your land. Nobody will take over your nation. Nobody will destroy your family because I got your back if I can get the males to meet with me. God's problem is he can't get the males to meet with him. And because the males won't meet with him and take their stand as men, Satan has been destroying our families, destroying our nation, destroying our culture because men have become like the abominable snowman. Footprints everywhere, but you just can't find it.
God.
He says, I have chosen him. You have been drafted. You have been drafted to fulfill the purposes of God. The purpose of God meeting with the men was to bring them in alignment to his rule over their lives. 1 Corinthians 11:3 says, Christ is under God. But then it says, every man is under Christ. And then it says, a woman is under a man. The problem with men is we want our wives to be under us while we be under nobody. We want to be the head without having the head. We want the name without the submission. And once a man moves away from God, he will find people, his wife and children, moving away from him. Many men will say, my wife won't submit to me. That's because she sees you submitting to nobody. So all you're getting is what she sees, a rebellious attitude toward God. He says, I have chosen him because I have given him a divinely ordained responsibility to operate under me. You've been drafted. Reminds me of the story of Hank Aaron and Yogi Berra in a preseason game. Hank Aaron, the home run king, came up to bat. Yogi Berra for the Yankees was the catcher. And you know, a good catcher is going to talk smack to the bat. So when Hank Aaron came up, Yogi Berra said, you can't hit, your mama can't hit. He said, big man, little stick. And then finally he said, and Hank, the insignia, the writing on the bat is turned the wrong way. He was trying to distract him. You baseball fans know that you always have the writing facing the bat. He was trying to distract him. He says, Hank, your writing is turned the wrong way. But to him calling him to look at the writing on the back. He focused on the pitcher. The next pitch that came down the pipe, Hank Aaron hit it over the center field fence for a home run. He runs around first, he runs around second, he runs around third, he touches home plate, begins to make his way to the dugout. Halfway to the dugout, he stops. He looks back. He says, hey, Yogi, just thought you might want to know, I ain't come here to read. See, if you don't know why you're here, you're going to be listening to other voices that's going to distract you from being the man you were created to be and playing the position you were created to play. The way God had it set up was that a man was to be underneath him before he would be over anything or anyone. That's why he wouldn't give him Eve until he first gave him himself. Because the man was to be under God, which would equip him to be over the things for which he would be held responsible. So men, you need to know you've been drafted. God himself has drafted you to fulfill a responsibility. He has given you an identity as a man. You don't get to turn down your draft notice. The second thing in this passage is that he not only has a destiny, because he's drafted, I've chosen, but he has a responsibility of discipleship starting with his own home. It says, I have chosen him, verse 19 says, and it says to command his children and his household after him. I've commanded him first and foremost to oversee his household. In case you didn't know it, in the Bible, it is not the mother's job to raise the children. Paul says in Ephesians 6, fathers raise your children. God says, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He never says, I am the God of Sarah, Rebecca, and Rachel. Because it was the father's job to raise the children. It was the mother's job to help and fill in the gaps when he couldn't do it. Her job was never to replace him. Because the covenant of God was passed down through the sons. That's why the sons were circumcised. Because it was the job of the sons to pass on the program of God in history. Yes, with the help and support of the wife, but it would be his responsibility. And so he says, I want you to govern your household and raise your children after him. That goes with your theme, as for me and my house. When Joshua said that in Joshua 24:15, there was no vote. He didn't ask his family what y'all think. And he told the culture, I don't know what y'all gonna do, but as for me and my crib, this is how we roll, this is how we roll. As for me and my house, far too many men have not established that this is God's house, I'm under him, and in a spirit of love, compassion, but biblical responsibility, we serve the Lord up in here, up in here. He says it is your responsibility for discipleship. Discipleship is replication. It is passing on a kingdom legacy. Those of you familiar with our ministry know that it is driven by a kingdom theme. Most of my books carry that theme: kingdom man, kingdom woman, raising kingdom kingdom kids, kingdom discipleship. We'll be coming out with kingdom stewardship and then kingdom authority. We have all these kingdom lines because the whole point of the Bible and the point of your purpose is advancing the kingdom of God. See first the kingdom of God, the rule of God. And we are to be raising kingdom kids, kids who understand they are to operate in relationship underneath the rule of God. And he says, Abraham, this is your responsibility. My messages are heard around the world. I'm on 1,400 stations every day in the United States and in 130 countries around the world. We have the Tony Evans app, which people can listen to messages every day. And so people will come in and order messages that I have preached. Some get it automatically in the mail. The way that happens is simply this way. On Sunday morning at my church in Dallas, I get up and I preach a message, and it's recorded on a master CD. This master CD records the message that I speak to my congregation. Then the master is taken over to our national ministry, the Urban Alternative. And it is put on a master duplicator. So the master is put on a master duplicator. Plugged into the master duplicator are slave units. These slave units replicate 16 messages a minute. So that the messages, the CDs, can be sent out to people who've ordered them around the country or outside of the country. So they are run off 16 in a minute because there are slave units plugged in to the master. Now when people get the CD, they get a copy of the master. Because you see, there's only one master. But they get a copy of the master. But when they get a copy of the master is so much like the master, you can confuse it for the master because it's a replica of the master. So the way this is supposed to work is that Jesus is supposed to run off on us because there's only one master. But we're supposed to be so much like the master that when our family plugs into us, they plug into Jesus because we're replicas of the master. Because we reflect our King and his kingdom in our values, our decisions, our orientation, our determination. Not only did he affect his household, but at the end of chapter 17, it says that he got all the men who worked for him circumcised too. So he didn't just circumcise his kids. It says he circumcised all the men who worked for him. So if you hung out with Abraham, you were going to get cut. In other words, he was going to influence you for the kingdom. There are men in your circle who need to be influenced. And if you ever decide to become a kingdom man, a man relationally under the rule of God, then you would experience something that would blow your mind, and that is the transfer of authority. Now, our time will not allow me to get into all of that. If you want more, you can get the book Kingdom Man, but we talk about that. But let me just give you a biblical illustration. We all know the story of David and Goliath. Goliath is 9'9", an NBA coach's dream. He has threatened the armies of Israel, and it says, and the armies of Israel, all the men who fought in the army fled at the sight of Goliath. He dominated the environment. Enter a teenager named David. David makes a statement. If I were to ask you, how did David kill before he ever picked up the slingshot, or before he ever picked up the stone, he said something twice. In verse 26 and verse 36 of 1 Samuel 17, he looks at Goliath and he says, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine who taunts the armies of the living God?"
Amen.
Goliath is 9'9" tall. All the men in Israel see Goliath and it says they flee. While all the other men were looking up there, David looked down here and said, "He ain't been to the doctor. He ain't been cut. He has not been circumcised. So I got him. I got him. Because even though he's a big brother, even though he's a large guy, he has no divine covering over him."
Amen.
Because you see, circumcision meant to be covered by God, because you are now underneath the covenant. We have a generation of spiritually uncircumcised men. So they have no divine covering. And that's why we don't get God's help with our wives, God's help with changing our kids, God's help with us in community, because we're not we go to church, but we haven't been circumcised. That is, we have not been spiritually cut, which means to come underneath the authority of the rule of God. And if you're not underneath the authority, if I'm not underneath the authority of the rule of God, then we have no authority. We got church, songs, sermons, but we have no authority. And the whole point, Adam, is for you to exercise dominion. But Abraham, the way you're going to do it is you're going to start with your family. Nehemiah 4:14 says, "Fight for your family." We as men are to establish the divine standard in our home. The Bible says that we are to raise our children around the table. Psalm 128 verse 3. Every man can leave his home. All you got to do is show up for dinner. You show up for dinner, but you don't just show up to eat. You show up to lead. That's where you have devotions. That's where you put your hand and bless each child. That's where you teach the son to pull out the chair for the daughter as they see you pull out the chair for the wife. That's where they see correction. That's where you find out who they're playing with outside and what kind of influences negatively are they getting in school. See, all you got to do is be at the table.
Amen.
As much as you can be there, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, based on the ages of your kids and the activities in your home and your work schedule, you must be at that table. Television's off, phone is off, social media is off. For this hour, the leader has shown up and we are at the table as a kingdom family. Because he says, "I want you to raise your household after you." And what I want you to do with your household is I want you to establish a standard. He says, you are to teach them righteousness and justice. Those are the twin towers of the kingdom. Righteousness and justice. Righteousness, your moral standing before God. Justice, your equitable treating of men under God. There is a division today, politically, Democrats and Republicans. Many minorities will vote Democrat because they feel they will get more justice. Most Anglo-Christians will vote Republican because they feel that there will be more righteousness. That is, no abortion, against gay marriage. So we'll get more righteousness. Well, I just want to inform you, God doesn't ride the backs of donkeys or elephants. Because it's righteousness and justice.
Amen.
It's keeping the life safe in the womb, but treating it fair to the tomb.
Amen.
It's righteousness and justice. And he says you are to raise your family for both, so that they have a standard to operate on. Not the standard of the culture, but the standard of the king. This is the challenge for us today. But until God's men stand up, and until God's men take their place, God has nobody to work with. Nobody to work with. My son Jonathan, a football player, when he was 11 years old, he came to me and said, Dad, I want to show you something. I said, what? He said, come on, you got to see this. He took me over to the church gym. I said, why you bring me here? He said, I want you to see me dunk the basketball. I said, excuse me? He said, I want you to see me dunk the basketball. I said, okay, I got to see this because he's 11 years old, he's about this high. He said, this I got to see. He dribbles the ball, takes two hands, runs up, jumps up, boom, dunks the basketball. Now, before you get too impressed, you need to know he got the janitor to lower the goal. So what he did was he lowered the standard from 10 feet to 6 feet. Dunked the basketball. I told the custodian to raise the standard. And I said, I see what you're doing, son, but the goal is not to lower the standard and dunk. The goal is to keep the standard high and you go up to that standard. The culture has lowered the standard. We're raising kids to dunk at a lower standard rather than raising the standard and growing them up to be dunkers at God's standard.
Amen.
Not the culture standard.
Ooh.
As for me and my house, we will serve this standard. Not the standard of television. Not the standard of today's music. Not the standard of secularism, culturalism, classism, sexism, racism. We're going to establish God's standard.
Amen.
That's going to be how we roll as a family. So you have a calling, you have a destiny. When I go through the